Hey, my name is Kevin Schuster. I'm a BC 2011 graduate. Thanks so much for giving me a few minutes to share some of my experiences with working in Ghana and working with social enterprises and mobile companies on the continent. I'm really excited for you and your classmates to be visiting Ghana soon and to kind of experience firsthand a lot that is happening on the ground there. So what I thought I would do is kind of give some more higher level kind of trends and kind of insights that I'm seeing, and then from there narrow in a bit more on some of the more innovative business models and opportunities I'm seeing, and then finish up by talking a bit about my experience from BC to MEST and now to VOTO Mobile. And I'll try to keep this to about 15 minutes. So in sub-Saharan Africa, we're seeing incredible economic growth. Some of the fastest growing economies in the world are in this area. For example, Ghana has seen close to 10% growth rates for much of the past decade. We're seeing a very young and growing population, with more than half of the continent's population under the age of 20. And by the year 2040, Africa is going to have the largest working age population of any market in the world. And another trend we're seeing is urbanization. And a lot of cities with over 1 million people, more and more people will be there by 2030. What's especially interesting for me is we're seeing that people in urban areas have different habits, different trends, different consumption than people in Africa that are living in rural areas. I think we're going to see a trend towards companies and organizations treating people on the continent more and more like consumers, and we're going to get less and less hearing about kind of giveaways and aid. Well, there will still be a need for that. We're also seeing a rising middle class, which again is going to change consumption patterns on the continent. People are very optimistic about the future, and as these trends continue, there's going to be a lot of growth. There's going to be a lot of international organizations coming in to kind of set up shop. We've already seen Google, IBM, GE, Microsoft getting involved in Ghana. So you have those kind of macro trends, and we're also seeing a much more stable and peaceful environment, perhaps the most peaceful we've ever seen sub-Saharan Africa in our lifetime. There still are some issues in certain parts of the area, but overall we're seeing peace. In Ghana, for example, there have been peaceful democratic elections and transitions of power between different parties for the last 22 years now. And in addition to this peace, the government's also doing a much better job with handling kind of tough issues like keeping inflation low, reducing government debt, and balancing the budget. So that's creating a great kind of foundation for entrepreneurs, tech development, foreign investment to really start to flourish in this part of the world. And along with all this, I'm sure you've seen some of the graphs, you've heard the stories around mobile, with leapfrogging right to mobile phones, and how this is the platform that people in the continent, people in Africa are using, how they're getting their information, how they're communicating. It's the fastest growing mobile market in the world. It's the second largest in the world behind Asia. Much of the population is still using basic phones or feature phones with limited internet. But with smartphone prices dropping, people are talking about $20 Android phones soon. That's going to be changing. And with that, there's enormous opportunities with these affordable smartphones, along with organizations like Facebook's leading this Internet Org project, with Google Access to provide better internet. So soon it's not just going to be, can someone load their Facebook page? It's going to be, they're going to be able to get rich video content. They're going to be able to stream Khan Academy. They're going to be able to stream YouTube videos. They're going to be able to experience MIT open courses. And that's just going to completely change the game with democratizing information throughout sub-Saharan Africa. So here's a little Venn diagram. If you put some version of this on your final, I hope Professor Gallagher gives you at least, let's say, a B. I think a B is fair. On the top right, there's a quote from the founder of MEST saying, talent is distributed evenly across the globe. Opportunity is not. And what I think is happening with a lot of these trends we just looked at, with rising middle class, urbanization, a young population, with the government providing more peace and stability, improving ICT infrastructure and internet access, better education, and then on the mobile side with penetration rates, cheaper smartphones, and new business models that we're going to discuss, that's changing this equation, that these opportunities are expanding, and how we leverage these tools and these trends is going to determine how quickly can we change this equation? What type of acceleration can we see? And we're going to see all types of innovation, opportunity, talent, and this kind of leapfrogging of technology. So now I thought we could discuss a bit about some of the more areas that are ripe for innovation, some of the more interesting business models I'm seeing on the continent. So this McKinsey analysis in the top right-hand corner, they talk about 6 sectors that are particularly open to transformation when there's more internet access. You see health, agriculture, retail, government, education, financial services. I tried to come up with a cool acronym like BRIC. The best I came up with was FEAR-GH, like Fear Ghana. So, the rest of the world should be really keeping an eye on this part of the world for all the innovation, all the growth that's going to be coming out of here. I promise that will be my only corny acronym for the presentation. Just a lot of, those are some of the areas that to really focus in on. One thing to look at is treating Africa. We've spoken a bit about this earlier in the presentation, but Africans as consumers. You look at the Nollywood, the Nigeria movie industry, it's over $1 billion market. You're seeing companies like Iroko TV, the Netflix of Africa. There's a lot of growth here, and I think one of the big opportunities is Africans becoming the content creators. You look now on app stores in Ghana, there's not a lot of local content. Companies like Letty Games creating local relevant mobile games. There's a huge opportunity there and a huge thirst for it. There's also the impact potential. A lot of the stories in the media kind of talk about the negative side of Africa. By becoming the content creators, citizens in Africa can have more of a say in what type of story do they want to be told. How do they want the rest of the world to see Africa and all the good and the bad that's happening there? One of the big trends I'm excited about is micropayments, everything from kind of pay-as-you-go payments, microinsurance. With the penetration of mobile phones, with innovations in mobile money, for example, M-Pesa in Kenya, a third of the GDP in the country passes through this mobile money platform. About 80% of the country uses it. That's a huge platform for innovating around payments. And this makes a lot of more expensive services affordable for base of the pyramid customers. One example is with companies like Off-Grid Electric, where if you want a solar panel to charge your phone to do basic electricity, no one's going to have $200 or $300 to pay for that up front. But with this type of micropayment, you can buy this solar panel for, say, $10 down payment. There's a smart chip in the solar panel that monitors your usage, and you pay through mobile money every week how much you use, and you slowly pay off the cost of the solar panel until you own it. So now someone in, say, rural Uganda can pay for appliance like solar panels or a refrigerator, whatever it may be, over multiple years. Another innovation that I like is Tigo. So they are a telecom. They operate in Ghana and a few other countries. And they're providing a kind of a funeral insurance kind of loyalty program. That sounds a bit weird. But funerals in Ghana are extremely expensive, probably more expensive than weddings are in the U.S. And they can be a real financial burden on families. So what Tigo is doing is, they're fighting with all these other telcos for market share. For customers who stay on board with Tigo, who are loyal, who use more mobile credit, and who get more of their family and friends to sign on, they earn over time incremental amount of insurance that they can put towards kind of life-changing events like a funeral, where they can then kind of get this insurance and be able to cover a lot of the expenses. And another one is we're seeing telcos using mobile usage patterns as a proxy for your credit worthiness. So how often are you kind of topping up on your mobile credit? Kind of different areas like that can give people who were previously unbanked the potential to have access to savings instruments, to loans. Another hot topic as of late has been Bitcoin and whether this has potential in Africa or some type of digital currency. There's still concerns about the fluctuation in the prices, the security of the system. But I do agree that there is a big opportunity here. One organization in Kenya called Kapochi is built on top of M-Pesa. And a couple of the reasons why I think this is exciting, or a nice potential. One is just with remittances, kind of people sending money back to Africa. That's actually a bigger market than the entire development aid amount is for Africa. So more people are sending money back to Africa than aid organizations are putting into Africa. And there's huge kind of transfer fees with organizations like Western Union. So that can drastically cut that down. Another exciting opportunity is it can be very difficult to transfer money within Africa. There's a lot of regulations between borders, a lot of government regulations. So something like a Bitcoin could have a lot of opportunity for doing that. And then also in areas where mobile money has already spread, people are used to digital currencies, you might see more of an adoption there. One thing why we are talking about mobile payments, it hasn't spread in every country as well as it has in Kenya. There's different theories for why this is. One being that the governments, banks, regulators got caught off guard with M-Pesa in Kenya, and they put up stricter regulations in other countries once they realized how quickly M-Pesa spread. Another issue is different mobile money players being able to speak to one another, their technology being compatible. When M-Pesa took off in Kenya, it had a monopoly share, so any other mobile money player would kind of speak the same language in terms of technology. In Ghana, there's kind of 4 or 5 competing players. They don't all all speak the same language, so it can be tougher to get adoption there. Another thing to look at is there's kind of 10 countries that have a big share of Africa's private consumption. One thing we've noticed, especially working with companies at MEST, is instead of having a country strategy, like I'm going to go to Ghana, then Nigeria, to Kenya, is have a city strategy. And this ties in with the urbanization. So maybe you want to really nail down Accra, then move to Lagos, then move to Nairobi, then move to Cape Town. Another thing to kind of keep in mind is a lot of people talk about sub-Saharan Africa as one big market, which I've done a lot in this presentation. But just to keep in mind that there are a lot of difficulties in moving between various markets. For example, a lot of West Africa is Francophone, so you have language issues there. There's also regulations. The nice thing with mobile and software is that cuts down a lot of the regulations in certain areas. Another big area is education. So large illiteracy rates, we're seeing SMS type innovations. And as we get more internet access and cheap smartphones, as we discussed, kind of this open education movement with MIT, with iTunes University, with Khan Academy, there's really a lot of potential and areas to innovate there. Electricity. So we spoke a bit about kind of micropayments to make solar panels affordable. This is a really big area, and it's an area where impact and profit, you don't have to pick. It can be a pure profit play while also making a huge impact opportunity. We've spoken a lot about this, but internet access. Google's doing a lot with TV whitespace technology. Google Access, Internet.org with Facebook, and telcos love data usage. You're probably going to have an easier time getting a telco to talk with you if you're going to be able to pitch to them how you're going to help them get their customers to use more data. And the reason being, they've seen mobile subscription rates going up, but they've seen average revenue per user go down a lot. And that's because people are mainly using it for SMS, they're mainly using it for calls. When we get internet, creating apps that can use data, whether it be streaming music or videos or games, whatever it may be, you're going to have open ears when you go and talk to the telcos because they see that as a way to grow kind of their revenue and their lifetime value for their customers. We've spoken about this, so I'll keep it short, but very simple. I said 80% earlier, but I should have said 70% of Kenya uses M-Pesa and 80% don't have a bank account. So you can see how mobile phones, mobile payments, kind of these innovations and business models around providing credit, how that's a really ripe area for innovation. So that's a little bit about areas I thought were interesting. Now to just spend a few minutes on my story. I studied at Boston College. While I was at BC, I actually wasn't very involved or aware of a lot of the great entrepreneurial tech events like venture clubs and TechTreks. I kind of kicked myself after I graduated when I kind of became aware of how unique and incredible these opportunities are. While I was at BC, I was involved with a lot of social justice and community service type work with the MEST to BC immersion program with Appalachia. My one kind of touch point with Professor Gallagher during undergrad was his really awesome information systems book. And, when I was graduating, I was trying to figure out what to do with my economics and kind of finance concentration. And I knew I didn't want to kind of do like banking or consulting or something like that. So I kind of stumbled across this opportunity at the Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology, which you all will be visiting very shortly. And I saw this as a great opportunity to kind of take my business skills and economic background and combine that with a lot of what we learned at BC about men and women for others, setting the world aflame, and just a nice way to kind of give back and also be able to learn a lot and experience a new country. So a little bit about MEST. I know you will cover this a lot, so I'll try to keep that short. The goal is to create jobs and wealth locally in Ghana and in Africa, and to do this by creating world-class entrepreneurs and software organizations. There's two main parts of the program. The first one's the training program, where we train Ghanaian university graduates to become global software entrepreneurs. They learn computer science, business, communication skills, and this culminates with forming teams, pitching a business plan, an investment pitch with a product and some traction to get seed funding and a space in our incubator. I spent my first year in Ghana as a business teaching fellow, so I worked with the students, helping them to learn the business skills to start their companies. The second part of the program is the incubator. So once students graduate and their teams get funding, they move to the incubator to try to scale and grow their companies. And there's a range of companies, some solving problems on the ground in like healthcare and employment. We see people doing mobile gaming and communication, advertising, and also some organizations serving the US market right away. For example, Dropify is in San Francisco now. They took part in 500 startups. And we think this is a powerful potential here to kind of show that entrepreneurs and startups from Ghana can compete anywhere in the world. And in doing so, if they're successful, create a lot of jobs and wealth back in the country. I spent my second year in Ghana working in the incubator. So I worked hands-on with the companies, helping them to kind of think about their companies and execute on different strategies to grow and scale. So this is another kind of little cycle I put together. If you put something like this on the final, hopefully you'll get maybe a B+. And this is kind of how I'm seeing the need to build an ecosystem. Some in Accra will see the city, maybe it has the potential of what Silicon Valley was 30 years ago or 40 years ago. But what are the tools we need to nurture to enable that? And one way I look at it is, programs like MEST, good higher education programs, good mentors, provide the education, training, and support needed. And hopefully this can lead to some traction. This can lead to some success. This can get the attention of angel investors, local VCs, impact investors, and eventually more international venture capital. And as this is happening, we'll hopefully see more success stories. It's creating wealth. It's creating jobs in these areas. It's getting media attention. And it's just going to help the community. And not just helping the community grow, but changing perceptions. One thing that I've noticed a lot in Ghana is there's not as natural of a kind of an entrepreneurial mindset as there are in places like Boston or San Francisco, where it's a more risk-adverse culture. There's a lot of pressure when someone graduates from college, especially if they're the first one in their family to graduate college. Families like, why don't you go work for a bank or a big organization and make a living and support your family, while this entrepreneurial endeavor is risky. It might not succeed. We're not really sure what this is all about, which are all valid. Well, what we hope is, as we get these early trailblazers, as we give them the support, as the ecosystem from funding and advisors and talent pool, as that all comes together, we'll see more successes, and that will just move this cycle quicker and quicker, and we can create a really great ecosystem over the coming years. So early on at MEST, I reached out to Professor Gallagher. I was like, I remember that great book, Information Systems. I was wondering if I could use some of your resources with the students at MEST. Professor Gallagher was very open to this, and it kind of got the conversation going about, we have TechTrek San Francisco, TechTrek New York, Boston. Why not come to Ghana? And 18 months later, we have the first TechTrek, and I'm excited for you guys to be going back. So when I finished up at MEST, I was kind of looking at what to do next. I knew I wanted to do something early stage, something focused on this part of the world, and something that was for profit but also impact focused. So I started working with VOTO. VOTO is based in Kumasi, which is about 4 hours north of Accra. It's a kind of mobile engagement solution for organizations to connect with anyone with a mobile device. So it can work in all countries, languages, literacy abilities, and on all types of mobile phones. And the main tools are voice and SMS-based messaging and surveys. So organizations might use this for like an education campaign, for market research. And we're finding voice to be especially effective when working in rural areas, when you're dealing with more illiterate populations. So we're currently a team of 10, and I moved to California in the fall, and I'm trying to help grow the business out here. So here's a slide with a few use cases. We're working on a project with IPA, Innovations for Poverty Action, and UNICEF. This is a behavior change campaign. So, for example, if we send voice messages from like a celebrity or a female voice or a male voice, or the frequency we send messages, does that change the behavior we're seeing? We're doing educational campaigns in areas like maternal health to send pregnant women information before their pregnancy or about their pregnancy, and to be able to connect them with resources. Organizations like the World Bank are using VOTO for monitoring and evaluation So creating a baseline and measuring impact and changes over time and helping them to prioritize projects. And we're also seeing this for market research, kind of like a SurveyMonkey type tool for developing markets or base of the pyramid. So journalists for human rights, they'll use the platform to survey thousands of people for a report they're doing, so they can then have some quantitative data to include in their report. So what I thought I would do is, if people are interested, I'll run through a quick demo of the platform just so you can kind of get a sense of VOTO in action. And we'll finish up with that. Before I do that, I just wanted to give you some information. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I'd be happy to answer anything, discuss more, or if there's any way I can help out with my with whatever my limited experience or whatever it is, please reach out. I'd be happy to do what I can. So here's a quick look at the dashboard. And what I thought we could do in this demo is send a simple voice survey. There's the options to create and send voice or SMS messages, surveys, as well as to send and receive calls. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a group called Financial Literacy, and we're going to send different finance or kind of savings types information or surveys to. So with groups, you can create different campaigns. You can segment your users. Say we wanted to send different types of messages to males or females or to different regions or countries. We could do that. So we're going to add a subscriber to this group. So we're going to add Amma. We're going to add her number. We're going to add her to Financial Literacy. So now she's part of that group. I'm part of that group as well. So we're going to create a survey to send them. We're going to call this survey Mobile Money. It's going to be a voice survey. The question is going to be, do you use mobile money? There's different types of responses. We'll make it a multiple choice question. We'll say press 1 if yes, you do use mobile money. Press 2 if no. You can do conditional logic. So if someone answers the first question different than the second question, they might get sent on a different branch of questions for the rest of the survey. Now to get the audio file on, we can either use an application like Audacity to kind of upload the file right to VOTO, or we can call anyone's mobile phone to record the message. This is especially useful when doing translations. If we wanted to translate this message into 3 languages in Ghana, we could call people on the ground that we know in those countries. They repeat the message into the phone, and we're all set to send out the survey. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to call my phone, and I'm going to record the message. So I should be getting a call any second now. There it is.
To the beep. You can hang up after recording or press any key to finish and listen to your recording.
Hi, do you use mobile money? If yes, press 1. If no, press 2. Thank you. So we'll go back. The call is recorded. We could play it back if we wanted to see how it sounded, but let's just send it out. So we're going to pick our subscribers to send it to. We're going to send it to the Financial Literacy group. So Amma and Kevin are going to receive it. We're going to send it now. Yeah, let's send it. So it's going to go to 2 people. So this phone's getting 2 calls.
Hi, do you use mobile money? If yes, press 1.
Mobile money.
If no,
If
press
yes,
2.
press 1.
Thank you.
If no, press 2. Thank you.
All right, so I tried to respond to both. Let's see how that worked. So we go back. We go to surveys, results, 1 question, 2 responses. I pressed yes for one. I pressed no for the other one. There's the option to export the data into Excel. So if you have hundreds or if you have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people you're reaching, you can really dig deep into the data. that's a quick survey. Thanks so much for listening to the presentation, and I hope you guys have a great experience and a great time in Ghana. And please reach out.